People wanted proof that you can run Windows native plugins, which you can. Really, the best thing that I can do is show you that you can indeed make good music with these tools, and I'm gonna prove to you why I think that not only do we have a better deal over here in Linux Audio now than Windows, but this, for me at least, is unlocking a whole new paradigm of music making that was initially crazy paywalled. Okay, before we get into that, I'm gonna prove to you that you can indeed use Linux Audio to make really good music. I mean, you may not think this beat is very good, but I like it and I'm proud of it, and I can't do this on Windows. It's not possible. And then I'll take you on a tour of the mixdown and show you some of the tools that I used, because what better way to prove that you can use these tools than to, use them. And then I'll take you on a setup tour and show you some other things. In another video, I'll do like some tutorial type content. I'm not gonna make a case for the best distro in this video. I'm not gonna show you how to install and use Yawbridge. I don't have any intention of like making any hot takes in this video or making any recommendations yet, because to be honest, Linux Audio is not for everybody, and so I don't want to just like encourage you to go and nuke your whole setup yet. Unless you're into that type of thing, in which case, please leave a comment, whatever. But I have another video on the way that's going to get a lot more technical, and I'm going to take my computer science degree out for a stroll. So without further ado, here is this Hatsune Miku mix that I did that I really like. Can't be dropping the whole track, so subscribe for more music and ring the bell for more Linux content, and leave a like if you love Linux and you love music. Okay, so I'm obviously using a lot of Windows-based plugins in this, if you can't tell. The synthesizers driving this whole thing are several Arturia Pigments patches. I've been using this IK Multimedia T-Rack. These plugins are awesome, they're tiny, they're lightweight, and they sound amazing. Guitar Rig 6 runs exceptionally well on Wine, and I finally can use Guitar Rig 6 in a low latency environment, like reliably enough that I would use it in a synth patch to play at like a gig or, in a studio session or something like that. My drums are being driven by Superior Drummer. Let's see, yeah, I'm using this compressor on a lot of my chains. I also have an SSL emulator. This is a good time to point this out. So even though this is like running via the compatibility layer into Linux and into the Linux native DAW, somehow or another, Yawbridge is able to tell Bitwig where all the knobs are, and so it maps them. And same thing with Pigments. Like, I can automate every thing inside of Pigments. If I want to pick out a certain knob to like modulate, I can just click the knob and it shows up down here. These plugins are essentially native. You'll see buggy UI moments from time to time, like here. If I click this menu, it kind of like bugs out. When plugins don't run spectacularly, GUIs are usually the main issue. The only plugin that I've seen that doesn't actually run to a point that I think it's usable is Serum 2. That's going to be a deal breaker for many, hence why I'm using Pigments. But yeah, you can see that the UI is really buggy, but the LFO window still functions somewhat. So yeah, Serum 2 is the worst case of a plugin that I've seen. The FabFilter plugins work damn near native. Yeah, these plugins have always been extraordinary, but you know, they function like they're supposed to. And the you know, even the GUI is totally rendered perfectly. I don't know what it is about these plugins that makes Yawbridge so happy. So yeah, I mean, that should be proof enough that you can indeed use third-party plugins on Linux. You know, I think that the experience probably isn't quite as tight as Proton is, for example. And just like with Proton, about 99% of things are going to run. There's the odd case here or there. And I treated that like, you know, a creative limitation and something that I was happy to work around. And let me explain why. This production experience is different than Windows, okay? I always say to people when they're looking to run Linux or when they're looking to get people interested in running Linux, the thing that you have to tell people is that you are not trying to replace your Windows experience with Linux. You're looking for something different. This setup to me is just like an improvement on my Ableton setup. I'm not going to argue that it's going to be that way for everybody. Though I will say, in the future, I'm going to like try Ableton and FL Studio bridged via Wine, because I don't think we have a definitive fixing your QOL guide for it, and it would be nice to kind of standardize that experience for people. You know, for my producers out there that can't live without FL Studio because they have no hose, I got you, but not today. The true magic of it is in my latency. Part of my setup is, here, I'll show off my hardware, I guess. I don't have the most stellar hardware. Ryzen 5 5600X, which is a good processor, but it is not by any means top of the line or anything like that. Even if I was on the most powerful computer I could build, I would still be running Linux, just because of the reduced overhead that you experience on this lovely operating system. That's all I can say. Like, this computer gets the hell out of my way while I'm doing stuff. When I make music, my computer is turned on to make music. When I'm editing a video, I turn my computer on to edit video. When I play a game, I'm playing a game. Windows decides that it's going to render 10 different versions of Google Chrome for its UI. Fellas, I found out that the start menu in Windows is built with JavaScript and shipped with Electron. It's egregious, okay? If you do that, when you're shipping Electron, you're building an app in JavaScript, and then you package Chromium around it, which is the base browser for Google Chrome, and then you ship it. And so people were noticing that if you click the start menu over and over again a bunch, it would eat up all your RAM and crash your computer. I'm sorry, but that's untenable. That doesn't happen here. The main feature, the main draw is latency, okay? I grew up playing jazz, and I grew up in band, and I played in bands, and I'm all about my human feel music. I was always dealing with tons of input latency on Ableton. Like, I would gear my hardware for the closest that I could get and still end up with 30 to 50 milliseconds of input latency. And I'm thinking, I have the most powerful sound design platform at my disposal right now, and I can't run like one amp simulator and a guitar or a microphone, whatever, and just show up to a gig with my laptop on stage and generate all my sounds. Because how the fuck am I going to play in time with anybody? You can't. The real-time kernel for Linux, right, uses real-time process scheduling, which essentially lets applications tell the CPU, like, I'm going to do a thing, have my results back to me in a certain amount of time. It lets certain processes take priority over other things, right, in the CPU scheduler. Windows does not have the ability to do that. Microsoft is prioritizing all of its telemetry stuff, all of their evil, invasive bullshit ahead of what you're actually trying to do with your computer, because they care more about keeping you trapped inside your little matrix bubble with all those cables attached to you than you doing what you want to do. And for me, it's opened up completely new avenues of music making. Because now, finally, without having to go out and buy a bunch of gear, I have everything I need. I got a guitar and a bass, I got a keyboard, and I have a drum pad. With these 4 pieces of gear, I can make everything I want to make. When I was growing up, I wanted to learn piano, but I never had a piano to practice on. I had like a shitty keyboard that didn't even have velocity on it. Up until I started running Linux, I wasn't able to just run like even FL Studio keys and reliably practice on it because of all that latency. But now I can play a real instrument. What's really crazy is Linux RT, right? Because it has real-time privileges. You can go check this in your own DAW. On Windows and Mac OS, you measure your buffer size in terms of samples, thanks to the real-time kernel. I can measure my buffer size in milliseconds. There's a little bit probably of extra latency outside of this. I would be interested to try to measure it through some, I don't know, amalgamation of putting my headphones up to my microphone or something, but like, this is different, dude. It's completely different.